Okay, we're live. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creating Cultures that Outperform. I'm Frank Wander, and I'm here with my amazing co host, Terry Mays. Terry has been phenomenal. She's a certified culture engineer and has been with this program for, well, it's going on a couple of years now, right, Terry?
It is. It's hard to believe. Seems
Hard.
like we just got started, but it's already been a couple of years.
Yeah. And listen, we've this series we're doing on conflict in the workplace. How to actually prevent it. How to actually use productive conflict to drive innovation, which was episode 2. And we're moving on to episode 3, where really it's all about the relationship repair process. In the last episode, we talked about the different personality types and how cultures have to support a workplace where it's okay to really get into deep discussions on different topics, to disagree with one another, normalizing that kind of debate. And it's super important, but sometimes in organizations, relationships really get damaged. And sometimes very important relationships get damaged that are in the way. And there are a lot of reasons you need to repair these, but I think the most important thing to think about is not all relationships are worth repairing. Some of them really are because they're very important to the functioning of a large program, group of people working on product development efforts who have really, really deep institutional knowledge around the product. So, sometimes relationships are worth repairing, and in that particular case, there is a process to do it. So we're going to talk about the relationship repair process today. And when you talk about relationship repair, you've got to deem and determine that that relationship is worth repairing. You've got to have the manager very engaged, although they're probably not going to be the mediator in this case. You have the two antagonists. You have somebody who's completely impartial, who's a third party generally. Could be somebody from HR, could be somebody from People Productive. We've done this work coming into companies to help repair relationships that really matter on big, big, important projects and programs. But it's somebody independent who is a mediator that understands how to run a good discussion with people. You've got to get those two people together, and they have to agree that to both of them that that is worth repairing. So, the manager basically sets the ground rules up. He prepares, sets the stage basically for the meeting where they're going to meet. Now, it's important that there are a set of ground rules that are followed in these meetings. And I'm going to share this. These are the ground rules we use. And this is sent to the individuals in advance to get ready. Now, the mediator meets with each of the antagonists individually to go through these ground rules, make sure they really understand that this is a process. We're looking for their buy in. And, it's a moderated discussion. And you're meeting with them as the mediator because their relationship is deemed worthy of repair by that organization. Facilitators neutral. So, what do participants do? They stay present throughout the meeting, listen attentively. They never interrupt the other person. The facilitator will, from time to time, ask the listener to repeat, paraphrase what the other party has said to ensure the other party was heard. So if something very important comes up, you may ask the other person, say, could you repeat that for me, please? All statements start with I. This means you're speaking in the first person and sharing your point of view. You're never talking as if you're the other person. It's how you feel, it's what you said, it's what you believe. You respect each other as human beings, co-workers, and equals. You behave fairly with one another. This means participants give each other time to speak so the other party has roughly the same amount of time to share as the other one. If the moderator points out a participant has violated a ground rule, please say thank you for pointing that out. And you want to make sure you seek to understand the other person's perspective. So, Terry, your thoughts on these?
Yes, absolutely. There's nothing worse than trying to work with people that have a
Mm-hmm.
disagreement, that are just in conflict, that creates this barrier in the work. So you want to make sure you're addressing these situations as a leader. You don't want it to just sit there and grow. That barrier is just going to get bigger and bigger, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to create an obstacle that other people on the team have to overcome. So anytime you can use a facilitator, or if you as the leader can be impartial and bring two people together, or if you need to bring in an outside party, make sure you're doing that, because it's very difficult and it makes it harder for the work to get done. And the work is already hard enough. You don't want to
Yeah.
have extra barriers that are there that are preventing people from working well together. And again, the Frank started this all off with saying, we have deemed that this relationship is one that needs to be repaired. Especially in the workplace, you find these relationships that, people have to work together. Nobody's leaving the company. You're going to
Yeah.
be here. So you need to be able to work well together, not just, barely getting by in your relationship. You want to be able to get along well enough to do the work. That's not saying that you have to be best friends. It means that you have a healthy working relationship. And that's really the goal of this. We're not trying to make everybody just get along well, although that would be
No. It'd
desired.
be wonderful, but
Yeah,
no, no.
it's
We just
that's
want
not
them to work well together. They
yeah,
gotta
that's
be
not
able to
always
work
the
well and
outcome.
collaborate. They don't have to hang out. It's
Exactly.
okay.
It's okay if you're not friends with that person, but you do need to be able to collaborate with that person. You need to be able to hear their opinions and take them to heart, like truly listen to that person and hear what they're saying. You need to be in that headspace, because,
Yeah,
again, this is not about I'm winning and you losing. This is about us winning together. And we did a whole episode and talked about this last week.
yeah,
But the whole point is for the team to succeed. The team can
yes,
get better. The team can produce what we need to produce in a high quality manner.
which
So
is
being
super
able to
important,
resolve
actually.
those issues, it's uber important. We can't stress that enough.
Yeah, it's just super important, and, setting the stage is so important. The people have to say, "Yes, I'm in the frame of mind. I wanna put this behind us," because when you have 2 people who obviously are fairly important to some effort, or you wouldn't be going through this relationship repair process, you might actually just separate them and bring somebody else in. So these are 2 people who have a lot of value. I'm sure they understand the other person does have value, even though they may not wanna admit it. But at the end of the day, you want to bring these 2 people together, and that's why these ground rules, are so important, and setting the stage where they agree to the fact that this relationship is worth repairing, and that as an organization, once you do this, not only are they gonna be productive, you're gonna remove all that tension, because this
Yes.
tension is in the workplace, and it's affecting other people. Mood is contagious. I mean, how many times have we gone over this? So this is a very valuable process. These ground rules and making sure the participants understand what they do, that they do stay present, they're active listeners. They may be called on to repeat something the other person said because you, as a facilitator or someone from HR, whoever it is, has met with them in advance. You understand points of view, and you may very well hear where some of the misunderstanding is coming from. And it might be good for them to repeat something. And, it's important that they follow the don't do's. Don't share speculation, rumors, or gossip. When sharing, participants stick to their personal experience. Not that so and so said or blah, blah, blah. What was your real experience? You don't use raised voices or negative facial expressions, that juvenile stuff you see sometime happen in meetings. Display an aggressive attitude. Calm disclosure is the only tool. And the facilitator will review and reinforce the ground rules, politely point out when a ground rule has not been followed, ask questions to stimulate dialogue, ask a participant to repeat something, moderate discussion so each party has an equal amount of time to share. And I think that's very important. We're talking about, this kind of equality and inclusiveness, making sure that everybody has, their time to share. And
Yeah.
so it's a good process, and this can be very, very effective, getting people in the frame of mind that, hey, we're important. And it's actually important that we work together. And look, the company's investing time and energy in our relationship. It must really matter. And
Yes.
so this is an
Being
important
able
process.
I was gonna say too, being able to see things from the other person's perspective. So having that empathetic ear when you're listening,
Mhm.
not just hearing what the person is saying and waiting for your opportunity to say why everything they just said was wrong,
Yeah.
but to actually listen and try to see things from their perspective. There
Yep.
have been so many times that I have just realized I was being a bonehead about something because I stopped just fighting for what I was trying to say and
Mhm.
how I could get my point across, and I actually started listening to what the other person was saying and started listening for the heart of what they're saying, because sometimes people are speaking with a passion and, they may raise their voice or they may
Yeah.
say words in the say the wrong words or choose the absolute worst phrase to say in the moment. But you have to look at the person and know, okay, this person is somebody that I need to work with.
Mhm.
They have the best interest in heart. They're not trying to fight against me. We're working towards resolution. So my language is so important.
Oh, the
The words
language is
that
very
I
important.
use, the words the other person chooses, but there are gonna be times where you have to, like, look past the language because it's not always the best choice because we're human beings, we're not robots. We don't get this right all the time. Conflict is a hot button, and
Yeah.
so it tends to want to escalate, but you have to be that person that steps in, that tries to control your own emotions. The other person has to control their emotions, and the more you do that and start to see things from the other person's perspective, man, you start to really understand some things and you see that, oh, maybe I made an assumption that just wasn't true. And I
Yeah.
went down this path making an assumption based on a previous interaction or, a previous experience with a totally different person. And I assumed that this person was doing the same thing when it actually they weren't. It was something
That
totally different.
really, really does happen too. It's just amazing. People do take things that have happened in their life and start applying them to other people.
Yes.
And it's a shame because they're innocent, they didn't do it. And that happens sometimes when people look just like somebody else,
Yes.
strong resemblance. And you might ascribe certain things that that other person did to them automatically,
Yeah.
which it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Or if that person, if you actually have had a negative interaction with that person and you made an assumption or a judgment call about the kind of person that they are, then the next time that you have to talk to them, you've got that in the back of your mind that this person is hard to deal with.
Yeah.
So every time you interact with them, you're coming from that space of this person is hard to deal with. They're hard to talk to, they're hard to work with. So you're guarded when you go talk to them, which in turn makes them feel, because remember, all of this is feelings, emotions.
Yep.
All of that is being transmitted in the language you choose, in your body language. So even if you're choosing all the words so very carefully, your body language will betray you.
Oh,
So
there's no hiding your true
there's
feelings. It's gonna
no
come out
hiding.
in micro expressions, how
Exactly.
tense you are in the meeting,
Yes.
all sorts of different pieces of body language. Most of a conversation is nonverbal, actually.
Yes.
Study this.
Absolutely. So you really do have to pay attention to what you're doing. But the biggest piece when you're trying to resolve a conflict, you've got to be true to yourself and be authentic. You cannot fake it. This is
No.
another one of those things, and we've talked about a few times where you cannot fake it till you make it. You really do have to be honest and open and be authentic in this moment because it really can bring about a much better relationship with that person if both of you are really being authentic and really sharing your true honest feelings, not bringing in a whole bunch of other things from the past, but really staying focused on this incident and how we can resolve it and move forward.
Yeah. Well said, Tara. Relationship repair is a real thing. I think leaders should keep in mind that when relationships are worth repairing, there is a way to do it. Generally, not the manager doing it. Generally, there's a third party, somebody from HR, maybe an independent third party from outside the company has experience, whatever it may be. This can be done and it can lead to much more productive outcomes. And so I think this is super important. Conflict in the workplace is good. When conflict gets out of control and an important pair of relationships are damaged, you really should take action and fix it because that's how you add more value to the company, right? You're paying these folks. Ultimately, you've got to have them move beyond whatever that source of that conflict was. And if you mediate and repair the relationship, you can actually achieve a lot. And you are removing all that tension from the workplace because they're talking behind their back about the other people. It creates just a maelstrom. It's terrible.
It is. It creates these landmines all across the organization.
Yeah.
Makes it difficult for folks that don't know. You know, they kind of walk in and they get this bomb blowing up at their feet because these two people don't get along well, or you'd say you bring the wrong person into the meeting and now you've got to be so very calculated with everything. It just makes the work harder. It really does. So you have to pay attention, you have to recognize it quickly, and then bring folks to the table and hold them accountable for how they're relating with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Very important. So, we're going to be covering another topic next week. We may be looking at an Edward Deming experiment that's under discussion. We'll talk about that and see if it really is a really good topic for our next episode. But nevertheless, we're going to be going over these human factors of leadership, how to create a culture that truly outperforms, what you need to do in your workplace. Everything you do as a leader, is contagious. Just remember that. People don't do what leaders say, they embrace what they do. It's very important. You should understand the human factors. You should know how to use these as tools. You should know how to motivate people without money. Very important, 7 episodes. You should understand conflict in the workplace. You could look at our series on belonging, what it is, how to create it. I think we had 9 episodes in that. It was a very, very good series. There's a people unproductive series, all the different personality types that tend to bring a place down, make it far less productive. Nevertheless, there's a wealth of information on that YouTube channel and on the People Productive page on LinkedIn. YouTube may be easier at this point to find the stuff. But, great things out there. We hope you could join us every week at 3:00. We have another episode. And hope you enjoyed, the whole notion of conflict, good and bad in the workplace and what to do about it. So thanks for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed it.
Yes, bye for now.